Hey YouTube, petey twofinger here. I just checked out an interesting video. It's on Wired YouTube channel, Wired. Researcher explains why cats may like their owners as much as dogs. So they're doing these emotional testing on cats. They bring the subject in with the owner and they'll set it in this test room for 2 minutes, and then they remove the owner for 2 minutes and they mark down what happens, and then the owner comes back, and what they're finding is the cats are vocalizing. Their tails start moving around, they're licking their lips and crying because they don't feel secure. Now when the owner comes back, then the animal calms down. So what this proves is that these animals do in fact look to their owners for a sense of physical well-being or security. And the test data reflects that it's at the same percentage that they test dogs, which is just fascinating to me. I think most people would think the same thing. Now, they're really, you gotta kind of think about it in an abstract type of looking at the situation, because my thinking is that dogs are much higher on the food chain. And like with a dog, if you approach it properly, even if it's really not trusting you at all, if you do the right things physically, like don't look them in the eye, you kind of back off, you lower your countenance, lower your hand, and then slowly move in, they'll eventually smell the back of your hand, and then you've won them over. If you pet them, you got a buddy for life. Whereas with a cat, you can find this process taking like 3 months for you to be able to win them over and them to be able to trust you. And I attribute that to their inner programming, that they are just programmed on an instinctual level as these hunting machines. That's really what they are. And when we try to domesticate them, it gives a whole laundry list of other issues that we need to address as pet owners to keep them happy. Because if they're programmed to sleep 16 hours and 8 waking hours be hunting the whole time, or they're just scheming and pouncing and trying to catch stuff so they can survive, and then we put them into this domesticated environment where we're feeding them 3 squares a day, and they don't even need that much food. There's all that other programming that is left unchecked. So as owners, we need to do the right thing, be responsible, and provide laser pointer games, a pole with a stick and a fake mouse toy to engage this sort of hunt or pounce play for 10-15 minutes at a crack 2-3 times a day, when it's needed. And eventually the animal will settle in. We find them feeling really insecure unless they have marked this territory and they feel comfortable that they are in control and this is their territory and it's marked. And then even then, like I said, it can take a long time for one of these animals to fully trust everyone that's in the tribe. They'll tend to, after about a month, they'll pick a favorite person, and that's usually the person who feeds them and changes the litter box. So the other people in the house, they might, not really be sure about. And this is where you run into, especially going back in time as we get closer towards like the 70s, it seemed like it was much more popular of a thing as opposed to now, where we have felines championed on the internet, where cats are the international animal of the internet. Back in the 70s, you had much more people who would proudly announce in public that they hated cats. Jokes about torturing them, shooting them with BB guns were much more prevalent. And like I said, it's surprising to me hearing this study where these animals really do rely on their owners for security. But I get that, and that wouldn't be so surprising. What's surprising to me is that's the same level as the study as other pets like dogs. Because you hear so many people say, oh, well, the cat is so much more independent. And that's all fine, because they are in a lot of ways. But when it comes down to that thing, that bond between the pet and its owner, they're not more independent. They're just as needy and looking to their owners to provide them with that sense of security as a dog. And this is where I see those people, the I Hate Cat crew, is just speaking out of ignorance. If they ever had the good fortune of developing a relationship with the cat, that they would understand and come to love and tolerate these complex but wonderful animals. So it's just a shame. It's like people who don't own a Rottweiler being more scared or saying that these animals are more prone to attack, as opposed to people who would own a Rottweiler. It's the same type of ignorance. So we just don't really want to be blanket statementing stuff. We want to keep an open mind and try to understand our differences, our shortcomings, and be aware of how things work on that psychological level. And then those differences become much clearer and easier to understand. So I constantly get accused by my better half of psychoanalyzing too much, where I'm frustrated with her because of her lack of trying to break things down and assimilate, like figure out why, rather than just going, I don't understand that, or creating a prejudice. So it's just some people are more prone to that type of abstract thinking and problem solving and wanting to learn, whereas other people tend to feel that they know everything already and can't be bothered because they're better than everyone else. And then there's other people that simply just don't care to consider. So in our differences, we can find harmony, we can find peace and understanding, or we can alienate ourselves. And it's just a choice. And however we get there to that point of peace and understanding, there's many roads to get to the same place. And we can all kind of grow a little bit by seeking to understand rather than putting up our defenses. So no matter what type of person you are or what your past is, there's always room for improvement. And one path to that can be choosing an open mind, and that fact that you are on a path to realize that life's a journey. We're moving and growing every day. If we're passing by all these opportunities to learn something that will make us better people, make us more likable, make our own process more calm, but we're not getting worked up, we're missing all of these opportunities as we travel in life. Ultimately, who is going to end up paying that price? Who is that going to be detrimental to? Is it everyone else, or is it you? Are you, meaning me, the person who's going to suffer for having a closed mind or thinking that you know everything? So that's something interesting to think about. And that's something that I know I bring up that type of thing often on this channel. And that's not because I think that I'm this person who is always psychoanalyzing and learning as I go through life. It's because by my nature, I'm not like that. I'm the other way. And because I've been made aware of this issue that I have by looking at my relatives and looking at myself, like especially seeing it like in my folks, in my brothers, and then thinking, well, if I'm looking at them and seeing it at that percentage, can you imagine how much that I am guilty of that? And then it becomes difficult for me to gauge, but I know that's definitely an area that I need to work on. So anytime when I see something like this where it's a study and it surprises me, then that's something that I want to talk about, you know. So check the video out. It's on the Wired channel. Researcher explains why cats may like their owners as much as dogs. Surprise, surprise. It turns out they aren't as independent as we always thought that they were. Really cool video. And I don't want to make this a cat channel and alienate people that hate cats and love dogs. So just keep in mind that the first half of my life when I grew up, we were dog owners, and then I went through like 5 dogs. And we just didn't have good luck. You know, we had one lawsuit. A guy was pecking on our dog, throwing stuff at it. We had to get rid of that dog. My mom's dog, Bootsy, was still around when I was a kid. I saw her cry. She had to take that dog, and we lost our gingerbread because it was growling at my younger brother. The day he was born, the dog found its way into the crib, bassinet, and was growling. So that was it for the Basenji. Jasmine was a rescue that bit my younger brother the day we got at temperament shots. That dog ended up at my neighbor's. The Nichols family adopted that dog. Chipper was shot. Neighbors took it out because it used to escape and run through their lawn. And that's about it. So like I said, I know and love dogs. I've talked about this before. I don't like bad dog owners. A dog, you have more responsibility to train it to not get up on people, bark, or beg for food, and you need more room for it. You know, significantly more room. So I don't want to go off on my whole tangent speech about why people that are irresponsible dog owners make me see red, but I will just say that I have found for my situation of being an apartment person, having a pet cat is what works best for me, and that it would not work well for me to have a dog. That's not to say that if I had a farm, I wouldn't have a bunch of dogs and cats. You know. Anyway, thanks for joining me today, and all the best to you and yours. Take care of those furry little friends, whether it be a dog or a cat. Give them a little special me time today and let them know how much you care for them. Give them that security that they deserve. Peace.